A brand new week has arrived here for Locked On Blue Devils. We've got a Mailbag Monday today, talking about the end of the year for this Duke basketball team and what's ahead. Let's have some fun.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So excited to have you here with us today on Monday, April 14th, 2025, as Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where you can find everything that you need to know about what's going on inside the life of Duke athletics. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review on your favorite podcast platform, preferably the Apple platform's big for us. The algorithms love when you've got those reviews to go along with the 5 stars. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And we love giving 5-star Friday shout outs here on the program. Also, you can watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Go ahead and like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share it with your friends. On this Monday, we've got a Mailbag Monday of the program today where questions were sent in to us via email, lockedonbluedevils@gmail.com, and on Twitter at @LO_Blue Devils. And we're going to answer those with our good pal, Jordan Mann, who joins us on the program today. Now, 1 week removed from the national championship game, J-Man's here with us now. And a week ago, it was a Duke team that was not playing for a national title as you walked into the building there in San Antonio, man. And it's starting to feel more real that we weren't able to get the job done there at the end of the season.
Yeah, that was I had to put my head down when you're like, it's been a week since the national championship, knowing that Duke was not in it, and I was in the building.
Same boat. Yeah,
I was in the building, but not watching Duke, watching obviously Houston and Florida. But look, time to turn over a new leaf. There is no offseason in college sports anymore, so now it's portal and all that fun stuff that Duke is now going to be interested in and try and retain guys that are currently on the team.
Yep, and we're obviously, in some ways, people thought, surely we're going to have some news to kind of break down and discuss come Monday after a weekend. And yet here we are, we got nothing. We saw the Duke basketball incoming freshmen compete at the Nike Hoop Summit, and they played really well. But we learned, the pronunciation of Nicholas Hemenia coming into college next year. But other than that, we did not have a whole lot of news break over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if no news is good news. Technically, Cooper Flack is not declared to the NBA yet. So, Nipple and Malawatch, what are we doing, JJ? Those three returning with Cam Boozer. Should we start that training?
Yeah. Well, as we talked about, we got the scholarships for them. So there's still room for them to come back if they like to. Everybody's
worried about Isaiah Evans' future, obviously, with Smoke being with NC State. But you know what? Maybe the smoke all along is Cooper Flag and Knipple and Malawatch are just coming right back for year 2.
Yeah, let's do it. Run it back. We'd love that. We'd love that. All right, so we look at this mailbag today, and we want to talk about the season that was. So let's just kind of dive right into it, Jordan. One of the first questions that was sent in is, when you think about your favorite memory about this basketball team, the 2024-2025 Duke basketball team, what do you think is going to come to mind?
I mean, it's got to be beating UNC, sweeping UNC. And when you can sweep them 3 times in a year, it's a great year. So 2-0 is great, but 3-0 is even sweeter. So I would say that, but like, if I want to go for a moment or like a game, I would say, honestly, Isaiah's game against Auburn. Like, that is a moment that I'm like, you know what, that showed that the Duke team can reach a certain level, which we saw the rest of the season. But, going back to there, the narrative was this Duke team, like the 2 teams they played well or good competition, they lost, Kansas and Kentucky. And then to see what Auburn was the whole year and Duke beat them because Isaiah spark off the bench, I would say that's probably my favorite moment, single moment in the game.
I think it's hard to pick one, man. And I'm struggling with this question here because I really hadn't thought about Isaiah Evans' performance against Auburn. And then you bring it up and I'm like, yeah, holy cow, that was unbelievable to watch. I loved every second of that. The dude couldn't miss, and he was kind of the X factor that we needed in there. Sweeping UNC 3 times. Oh, yeah. Like, give us that every single year, man. What a great feeling that is. John Shire's on a run right now of owning the Tar Heels, and we hope that trend continues in the years to come. What about, Cooper Flagg's dunk, of course, against Pittsburgh is up there. And what a play that was, man. I mean, that's going to be on highlights for years and years and years to come. And then the other one, go ahead, go on the dunk.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, the dunk was insane. And then they obviously had multiple other ones. And then even like the AC tournament, flag goes down, and then the moments of Con Knippel being the number one guy and lead Duke to the AC championship. So it's just like when you win 35 games, you're going to have a lot of moments.
Yeah, and a favorite memory of this team too, I want to put the 42-point game against Notre Dame, and that wasn't the most decisive win for Duke basketball. But, dude, when do we ever see 40-point games in college, and then much less for Duke basketball players, right? I mean, JJ Redick comes to mind, but there really hadn't been any since then. Several times we've had guys go over 30, but 40, a 40 ball in the game in 40 minutes? That's incredible, man.
Yeah, I mean, for JJ's 40, obviously he was a junior and senior years, and he's a three-point guy. Flag was going to the rim, and he got fouled and free throws and stuff, but he got 42 and like 7 and 6, and he just turned 18 years old. And yeah, I mean, that is a moment and a game that you bring up, but honestly, it is, I wouldn't even say a top 3 memory of me of this season, because there's so many crucial games and big moments that this team excelled in. But that's a great one, because I will forget about that 42-point game until I see somebody tweet about happy anniversary, 2-year anniversary. Cooper Flag scored 42 on this day. I was like, damn, you're right. He did.
A Duke freshman scoring record. I mean, 42 points in a game. I don't know that we're going to see that again for quite some time. That's really hard for someone to be that in the zone, keep getting the shots, keep having them fall, going to the free throw line like he did. I mean, that's certainly got to be up there. And then credit to you bringing up the ACC tournament run. We love winning that thing. And Cooper Flag, this player that we've been highlighting all year long, doesn't play. He gets hurt. And Duke's losing when he gets hurt in that first game against Georgia Tech. And then the rest of the squad kind of rallied around him. And we had the big Con Knippel games. Tyrese Proctor heating up from the outside. That was a really fun stretch as well to go out there and win some hardware, man.
Yeah. Look, like I said, a lot of moments in a 35 win season, especially when you sweep your rival, you win the AC regular season and the tournament, and then you make the Final Four. Obviously, I know how it ended, but there's a lot of stuff that you can look back on and smile about, that it was a very much a successful season for Duke.
I'm trying to think of the other things that took place this season when we're thinking of favorite memories. Friday, you mentioned that you threw back to Common Malawatch throwing up on the court, right? I mean, that doesn't happen every single season. Con Knippel, some of his off-the-court antics and his personality is something that we're going to love from this. And I think, honestly, that is one of the favorite memories, too, is just, dude, seeing all the videos and behind-the-scenes stuff, how bought in, and it's something special about the brotherhood that players truly love being together for a year. But, man, this team was really fun to watch and watch them interact with one another throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to save my deep dive on that, because for a future question you're going to ask me about. Okay. But, yes, I agree. But the Common Malawatch, the yak, oh, boy, the amount of puke I've talked about every time I'm on the show, I still laugh out loud. And I know people were up in arms freaking out when it was live, hoping he was well. I was like, the dude just threw up. He's gassed. This is like a short turnaround of almost a back-to-back, and he played a season high in minutes. Of course he's going to throw up. But, God, that was just a wild game with NC State.
Yep. Man. All right, let's go ahead and we'll take that first break here on the program, and then we've got some more questions to dive into here on the mailbag. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You can find surprising insights with Monarch Money. When I started using the app, I realized just how much I was spending on things like food delivery, and now I'm able to budget smarter and save more. All in one convenience with Monarch Money. So instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use the Monarch app to just check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Monarch Money is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, let's keep going. J-Man's here with us. We're talking about the end of the year for Duke basketball. We've got some mailbag questions that we're running through. We just talked about favorite memories of the season. Comment down below on this YouTube video what some memories Jordan and I might have missed because it was such a great year. All right, on to the next one. What trait from this year's team is going to be most difficult to replicate on next year's team? That's such a good question, man.
So this is what I was referring to. I was saving my answer, the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Like, that's the trait that is special. I know people always want to say this team's different year in, year out, but you could really tell like 1 through 15 in that locker room vied with each other off the court. And that is something that is it's always been rare to like your teammates to that extent. But now with money involved, knowing the guy to the left of you is making more money than you and the guy to the right of you is making more money than you, like there's a lot of insecurity now in locker rooms. And to see the camaraderie that these guys have or had with each other is something that it's going to be tough to replicate next year. Even if Duke returned Proctor, Foster, Evans, you're still losing a Flag that was your best player, but also was really good in the locker room. A Knipple and a Malawach, who seemed like a joyous guy in the locker room. Like those are big personalities that are leaving. So hopefully the talent that comes in with the Boozer twins and everybody else, like hopefully they can still be good people as well to make that locker room tight like last year.
I think it's so big to have the big personalities and then kind of the steady going, even kill guys, and then be able to mesh so well together, to have the experience that they brought in with Sion James and Mason Gillis, Malik Brown, all coming together. Because that is the trait that I'm thinking about as well, is just that kind of togetherness that this team had. So fun to watch all the locker room interviews that we always get after every single game in the March Madness run. Neil Begovic is turning into this big-time reporter, asking the hard-hitting questions of his teammates, and they're all just having so much fun, man. I mean, that's just not a given each and every season. And I didn't even make the connection in my head to your point about how difficult it is when you are considering the little cash that goes into this too. Typically you just think about the playing time that might be so competitive, and there could be those a reason that your team's not so close and that sort of thing. Now we're really paying these guys and asking them to come together as one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to get caught up. Everybody's human, and then people are greedy. So it's easy to be frustrated about playing time. And then you're
fresh out of high school, it's their first time experiencing money and all of these, because that's an argument people would make in professional sports, is that, dude, that happens all the time. And I'm like, well, yeah, they're pros. They've been doing this a while. These are 18-year-olds fresh off the block, fresh from their mom's house, that now have all this money and that they're having to kind of mess with.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, it's one thing to be frustrated about playing time, but because you think you're better than the guy in front of you, it's also now you put in the wrinkle, you think you're better than him, but now you think you should be getting paid more than him because you think you're better than him on top of the playing time. So it's just like a lot of good that comes with NIL and paying players is great, but there's a lot of bad that tends to happen, and you see that with underachieving locker rooms. And I mean, I'll just throw like Kansas in, for example. Like, I don't know anything about what happens behind the scenes with them, but the last 2 years they've had duds and they've had really good transfer portal acquisitions. It has to be because behind the scenes there is a misfire. And so like that stuff is real when it comes to talent underachieving. And when talent does achieve, it's because the off the court stuff is very valuable, and it needs to be taken as serious as winning games on the court. You can only win games on the court so often. If you can win off the court and be a family, then you're going to overcome adversity on the court. And you saw Duke do that most of the season.
All right, let's continue with this question, but switch it up a little bit. I'll go first here. We talked traits about this year's team that's going to be most difficult to replicate on next year's squad. Give me something on the court that's going to be difficult to replicate as well. I go year to year, Jordan, and when I look at this team, I just freaking loved that it did not matter how the other team was playing. Duke felt so comfortable playing whatever pace or whatever style of game the opposition played, because they were able to be so locked in defensively throughout the course of the year. The offense kept getting better and better and better. They had the shooting to be dynamic with you in that respect. They had the guy that could take over any basketball game at any time in Cooper Flag. But I think their ability to just kind of mold into whatever style of game the opposition wanted to play, and to be able to be so proactive in those scouts going into their opponent, like the versatility of this team, man. Wow.
Yeah, that's you hit the nail right on the head there with like what's going to be tough for next year is this team was top, 3 or 5 defensively all year going into March Madness. And you saw it against Alabama, like after they give up 93 against Arizona. And again, that was a ton of fouls. But the next game, here comes Alabama, who one of the highest scoring offenses in the country, and Duke holds them to 65 points, and their best players like 2 of 15 and just could never get it going. And Duke never trailed in that game because of their defense. And so that's what's like what you said. I mean, Duke's versatility on the defensive end, you could switch 1 through 5 for the most part. Malawash was comfortable with an island. Like this upcoming year, can the pieces that are going to come in, can they do the same thing? And I will say with having said that, you got to give them grace. November, December is the time that you figure it out. I've said it on this show a million times. I'll say it again for anybody that's new watching. So if they struggle defensively in November, I still give them benefit of the doubt. By December, they'll figure it out because Shire has implemented, and that's his biggest strength as being the head coach at Duke, is how good Duke's defense has been his first 3 years.
So much fun to watch, and hopefully it continues in the years to come. We've got a few more questions that we're going to dive in this mailbag, but first we need to take one more time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. It's supplyhouse.com. Supply House is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, let's wrap up today's episode. Jordan Mann's here with us. He's from the Big J and Little J show. JMann _ his YouTube channel. He's on X at JMann's Takes. All right, let's talk about these questions that were sent in. What is the next thing Duke needs to accomplish in its roster building for next season is a question that I was sent over the weekend. And so much of this is going to be dictated by these decisions that are coming, but I do think there are a couple of different answers that we can look at here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is trying to retain Tyrese Proctor's number one, and or Caleb Foster and Isaiah Evans. I don't think Duke's going to land Ament and Evans, so it's or. Do you want Nate Ament or Isaiah Evans? And that is in your comment section. You can comment below who you would rather have. For me personally, I want year 2 Isaiah. I think what he can bring to the table offensively, like the way he can shoot the rock, the way he makes contested shots, there is a role for him to come off the bench right away and make an impact. And then next year, minutes will be more. And with those more minutes, he can further his offensive game by trying to put the ball on the floor and go to the rack, which we saw him do sometimes, and be a facilitator. But my point being, it's got to be retaining the guys that are currently on the team. And then if you strike out with Isaiah leaves, Nate Ament doesn't commit, then who you get in the portal? So I don't think you'll see as many portal acquisitions as last year with Sion James, Mason Gillis, and Malik Brown, because obviously so many guys left last year, and that's the reason why Duke had to plug in. And boy, did they plug in the perfect guys for this system.
Yeah, that's my thing is I do, maybe it's not 3 when we look at Brown, James, and Gillis that came into this Duke squad, but is there 1 or 2 kind of veteran guys out there that you are asking to be your premier playmakers, because you're going to have that with these freshmen coming in and a couple of guys that we do expect to come back. But is there an experienced player out there that can be just the big locker room vibes guy, like we talked about the camaraderie of this year's team, that's got maybe some big-time experience in college basketball that can kind of shepherd these guys along. Now, if we have Proctor and Foster back, that's not as big of a deal because that's a senior Tyrese Proctor, a junior Caleb Foster, a junior Malik Brown. Like, to your point, there's going to be more guys that can kind of pass along the culture of the Duke basketball program. But still, I think as we've seen with Florida and Houston, what they did in the Final Four, looking at last year's team with an older and experienced UConn bunch, like experience still really pays off.
Yeah, experience pays off, and also Duke has a hole to fill in the coaching vacancy. Who is going to fill that spot for Shire? Is it promote within? Is it like we talked about the last time I was on the show? But that's also comes with the territory of retaining the guys. Well, who else are you going to hire to? It won't step in and take Jay Luke's spot. I think they will, bump everybody up and then get somebody else. So I'm just curious to know where Duke goes with that and if there's any leads. And so maybe we find that out in the next week as well.
Yeah, hopefully. We're looking for news, man, at this point. But as we knew last year, it kind of went into May. All right, a couple of more here. How optimistic are you just in general about the future of Jon Scheyer and Duke basketball? Incredibly optimistic for me. I don't know that anything was going to sway my opinions of that. But I'm still all the way dialed in on this guy.
Oh, you know where I stand with Jon Scheyer. I said it last.
He's a genius.
I love that dude. He knows the landscape of college basketball right now, from on the court and off the court, and what it takes with NIL stuff as well. I have full faith in him, and he knows how to coach, and he knows how to get assistant coaches to coach the way he needs them to, and then he knows how to develop players. And Jon Scheyer, very optimistic. And coming into this year, Cam Boozer reminds me of Paulo Banchero 2.0 with how big he is and what he can do on the perimeter. With Duke short, I will say the one strength for next season that I think would be better than this past season is probably rebounding, because Cam Boozer is so much bigger and he plays like a guard like Flag, but he is a guy that can beat you up down low as well. And then Sheldon Henderson had a 26-20 high school game this year, so he's going to be crashing the glass. And, year two, Pat, I think this next Duke team will be a better, more consistent rebounding team than we saw this previous team.
Talking about Cam Boozer rebounding, it's like you got to remind yourself, this is Carlos Boozer's child.
If Carlos Boozer had this type of jumper and this elusiveness, then Carlos Boozer might still be playing in the NBA like LeBron James. Because Cam Boozer, he's nice. I like Cam a lot, and I love it's obviously what he was at Duke. But you can see just the talent that Cam has, and even Caden. Caden's going to be a good, fun guy to follow with Duke as well. But I'm very high on Cam Boozer to pick up what Cooper Flag's going to leave at Duke.
I'm super optimistic about this future. I think when we look at the coming weeks in the summer as well, we'll start to turn our attention to next year's class, right? Because that's what we did all of, getting the Boozers last summer was so big, getting Shelton Henderson and Haminia. And it appears that Jon Scheyer is still going to continue in the trend that it's like, you know what? Yeah, in this day of college basketball, in the player movement era, so to speak, let's still go after the absolute best basketball players. And right now, year to year, you're going to find them in the high school ranks.
Yeah, it's
not a guarantee people are going to transfer at the end of every year. You can't just expect to be able to poach them and that sort of thing.
Right. Look, last year, like I said, it was a perfect mix of highly talented freshmen with veterans. And this year, it's still the same. It's just roster retention. Like if Duke keeps a senior Tyrese Proctor, a junior Caleb Foster, and then Malik Brown will also be a junior with this talented core coming in, the talented 5 stars, then it's kind of the same situation. It's just they didn't come from other schools. They came from Duke's roster internally. And so that's why it's so massive for Duke to retain a Proctor and a Foster. And then obviously a Malik Brown that I think people are going to forget about because you see the big names and the bright lights of these new prospects that are coming in.
All right, I got a couple of more quick hitters here to wrap up today's show with Jordan Mann here. I know a lot of people have been talking about this Duke team and not much movement happening so far for this squad. Our friends down the road at Chapel Hill have had everything happen so far. It feels like with a lot of player movement. They've added Jaron Stevenson from Alabama. They've added Henry Vazar, the big from Arizona. But then several other players have made the decisions to transfer away from UNC. What have you thought about all of that?
I like what UNC's doing. I mean, they knew they were small, and clearly they went in the portal and they got two guys in Vassar and Stevenson. And Stevenson's a really nice bench piece for them to come off the bench behind Caleb Wilson, who's also a big 5-star. And so, look, I like what they're doing, and that's the beauty of the transfer portal is your team was bad. Like you underachieved, so you get rid of those guys and you get your own guys. You try it again. That's what Duke did last year. Like, right, they were a 5 seed and went to the Elite 8, but that roster was flawed. A lot of people left, so Shire got the guys he wanted, and you saw what happened when you could get the right pieces. So I think Hubert and them are actually doing a good job. But, at the end of the day, I like what Duke's doing as well.
Yeah, our favorite memories were sweeping them after all. So we saw Seth Trimble's coming back, and then RJ Davis is out of eligibility. Elliott Cadeau and Ian Jackson to the transfer portal. So several new pieces likely to come for Carolina on next year's squad. And then also this past weekend, we might not have seen Duke basketball things take over, but you're as plugged in as I am, J-Man. And the internet now is finding all of these clips out there for Darian Mensah and what he's been doing over the last few weeks in spring ball for this Duke football team. And we're seeing these top quarterback rankings come out. And obviously there was the chaos of the Tennessee quarterback situation over the course of the weekend. Darian Mensah is positioning himself as a top 10 quarterback in the entire sport. How fired up are you as now we're getting closer to football season, man?
Oh, I'm very fired up for Mensah. Look, Mensah Mania, he is going to be – I think he's going to be good. He is good, but it's crazy to see a guy that's unproven at Duke be in the top 10 of QBs in the country.
Right.
Like that is – something that as a 31-year-old, I'm still pinching myself because when I was 11, you dreamed of this on playing college football 07.
Right.
So you're seeing it getting preseason hype or spring ball hype. So I'm excited for him. There's still some pieces, obviously, Duke's going to have to get in the portal. But having QB1, Darian Mensah, and look, I appreciate Malik Murphy, what he did last year, but he had shortcomings that Mensah can overcome. And so I think Duke upgraded, being biased, obviously, and optimistic of Mensah, but I do think Duke upgraded at QB, and I'm excited to see where he goes and as we go to week 1.
Let's see this play out, brother. I'm excited for it. It's going to be awesome. All right, man, tell people about all the work that you do because it's a lot of basketball stuff right now, but you have just as many Duke football opinions that are out there. So how can people get plugged in and support you?
Yeah. It's J-Man's Takes, Twitter, J-Man _YouTube, Big J, Little J Show podcast on Apple and Spotify and the YouTube. And if I miss something, I'm sure I'll be back on another episode to tell you about that. But yeah, so I'm going to have some off-season stuff coming on the channel as well. Like I'm going to talk about the Isaiah situation, what I think Duke's roster is going to be, and so on and so forth. And it won't be a dead channel this off-season. I'm going to be active. I'll give you guys my thoughts and try and not spit as much gibberish as possible. I'm going to make it as educated as possible and as fun as possible on the channel. But JJ, thanks for having me as always.
We'll see you again soon, man.
See you, buddy.
All right, that's Jordan Mann joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Great thoughts and insight from him. Appreciate all the questions that were sent to us for Mailbag Monday. If you have any questions that you would like to have answered in the future, comment them down below. Send it to us via email, lockedonbluedevils@gmail.com, or on X at @LO_Blue Devils. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.